You know, from the coffee you grabbed this morning to the job you're heading to, there's this invisible force, an economic system, that's shaping pretty much everything. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and get a really clear look at what capitalism is all about.
Okay, let's kick things off with a question I bet you've asked yourself. You're booking a hotel online, right? And you see the price. Ever just stop and think, who actually comes up with that number? Is it random? Is there a secret formula? Well, figuring that out is going to take us straight to the core of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, so to get to the bottom of that hotel price, we have to understand the big idea, the engine that makes it all run. So let's boil it down. What is capitalism, really?
Think of it like a recipe with two key ingredients. First up, private ownership. This just means that businesses and property, the stuff that makes the economy go, aren't owned by the government. They're owned by regular people or companies. And the second ingredient, prices. They aren't just dictated by some official. Nope, they're set by this natural push and pull between how much of something there is, that's supply, and how much people want it, that's demand.
Okay, so that's the basic definition, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. To really get how this whole thing works, we've got to look at the 5 key pillars that hold the entire structure up. It's like the foundation of a building.
All right, so here's where it all clicks together. It all starts with that private ownership we mentioned. Because someone owns the business, they're obviously driven by a profit motive, right? They want to make money. And where does this all happen? In a free market. And what drives that market? Competition. Businesses are all competing for your dollar. And watching over all of this, you've got a limited government role. Think of the government less like a coach calling every play, and more like a referee, just making sure everyone plays by the rules.
I know, that all sounds a little bit like a textbook. So let's make it super concrete. We're going right back to our original question about the hotel room and see how these 5 things work in the real world.
So let's take a real-world example, a hotel group like Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts. The key thing here is this isn't a state-owned motel. It's a private company, a business through and through.
And right away, you can see the first 2 features in action. First, private ownership. The building, the brand, all of it, it belongs to a company, not the government. And what's that company's main goal? You guessed it, the profit motive. Their number one job is to make money for the people who own it.
Now, here's where you enter the picture. You, the guest, are part of the free market. You get to choose where you stay, based on whatever matters to you. Price, location, fancy pools, you name it. And because you have that choice, it creates intense competition. All those different hotels, they're literally competing against each other for your business, trying to one-up each other with better service, lower prices, or a cooler brand.
So what about that last piece, the government? Well, this is that limited government role we talked about. Their job is super important, but they're not running the show day to day. They set the big rules, things like safety codes, labor laws, and of course, taxes. But they aren't telling the hotel manager what to charge for a room or what kind of breakfast to serve. They're the referee, not the manager.
Okay, so now we have a pretty good idea of how the machine works. But, like any system designed by humans, it's not perfect. It has some really powerful upsides and some pretty serious downsides. So let's be fair and take a look at both sides of the story.
First up, let's talk about the good stuff. What are the advantages? Why is this system so widespread?
Well, for one, that competition we mentioned is a massive engine for innovation. Our hotel has to keep getting better, or a new, cooler one will steal its customers. That same pressure also forces efficiency. They can't waste money, or their prices will be too high. And what does all that mean for us? A ton of consumer choice. On the bigger picture, this whole cycle can spark incredible economic growth and create tons of opportunities for entrepreneurship.
But, and this is a big but, that is not the whole story. The very same things that create all that innovation and growth can have a dark side. They can create some really tough problems.
That relentless drive for profit, it can lead to some massive challenges. For example, it can create huge income inequality. Just think about the difference in pay between the CEO of a hotel chain and the person cleaning the rooms. It can also lead to job insecurity, because when times get tough, cutting jobs is often the fastest way for a company to cut costs. And this system as a whole can be prone to big swings, to economic instability. We all saw what happened to the entire travel industry during the pandemic. It was a perfect and painful example of that.
So, we've looked at how it's built, how it works in the real world, and we've seen the good and the bad. And all of that brings us to one huge central question. This is the question that really sits at the heart of almost every debate about capitalism today. And it's this:
How do we balance that powerful drive for innovation and growth with the absolute need for fairness and stability for everybody? There are no easy answers here, none at all. But thinking about that trade-off, that's probably the most important takeaway from all of this. It's a question worth pondering long after this explainer is over. Thanks for joining me.